feel desperate and kind of, this will never get better, or, why can I not do what I want to do, and these kind of things. And then we can do some Tonglen. Maybe we can do, again, instead of just doing, ordinary breathing meditation, we can do this evening, starting the class.
Annie, that I must admit that I have moments like that.
Yeah.
But I'm really working on it. I'm really working on it.
Well, it's normal because we're not made for the nature of our mind is that we experience happiness. The
Right,
nature of our mind is that we are free from pain. This whole
right.
thing about dukkha, it has causes, whereas the nature, like water that is clear, the water can be dirty, but it's not the nature of the water, but it can be dirty. So
Mm-hmm.
we can have pain, mental pain, physical pain, but it's not in the nature of our mind. This is why we seek well-being and happiness. And then, of
Right,
course, we can be totally despaired and all this. And this is why then this would be the moment when you start doing Tonglen,
right. Nachon, nachon. As
then,
I said last week, it's the two elements of pain and dependency.
uh-huh.
That's a challenge, to overcome.
But again, the dependency, if you think the people who help you, do you like to help people?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, we all do, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if nobody needs help, where are we going to take that happiness from?
Right.
So, so you decide, okay, I'll be the one that will give happiness to others because they can help me. So, and not just, they can help me, not just happiness now, but also positive karma for the future. If we only want to be the helpers, well, this is not going to work. And I remember, I think it was also in Israel when we had a course on death and dying in Kfar Monash with lovely Leora Price. And one person said, but I'm very sick and I'm totally useless. And then, what's the point? I think we talked about, like bringing your death forward by drinking some poison. That here in Switzerland, it's legal. Like
Right.
it's kind of a club and you can put your name down if you want to be a member of that club. And so we talked about this, and then somebody said, well, I'll be totally useless. We forget that we can be of great use to somebody that has decided to care for us.
Right.
And I
You
think,
know,
and it's not just easy and wonderful when you are the caregiver, okay? It's also difficult.
right.
But still, sometimes when I talk to people, or I listen to people rather, who have accompanied their parents until their death, of course it's difficult, but it's also very, very rewarding
Right.
because it's also a very, very nice way to repay the kindness that we constantly receive. Yeah. Where's Tom? Tom, sorry, I started talking again without you saying hello to everybody.
Yes, actually, I'd like to say a few words in Hebrew just to welcome everyone because we also have a new participant, Daryl. So I'd like to welcome him and everyone else. So I'll just say it briefly in Hebrew. אז היי, שלום לכולם, ערב טוב, ברוכים וברוכות הבאים לשיעור של אני לוסאנג מטעם עמותת ידידי הדרמה בישראל. אנחנו בשיעור של מדריך לאורח חיי בודיסטווה, ואנחנו עוסקים בפרק 6 בספר הזה, שעוסק בסובלנות. זאת קבוצת דיון ולא לימוד גרדה, אז כולם מוזמנים לשתף ולשאול שאלות בכל רגע נתון. אז במובן הזה אני אשמח מאוד אם מי שיכול לפתוח את המצלמה שלו שיעשה זאת, ככה נוכל לראות את הפנים שלכם ולהרגיש קצת יותר קרבה ותחושה של סנגה אמיתית, וגם במקביל גם בגלל שהפורמט של הזום, אז כל עוד לא מדברים או רוצים לשאול שאלה, אז אם אפשר להשתיק את המיקרופונים כדי שלא ייכנסו רעשים מפתיעים כדי השיעור. וזהו, בגדול, אני שמח מאוד לראות את כולם, וגם את הפנים החדשות, וכמובן אני אזכיר שאם אתם רוצים, אם אתם רוצות לתרום ולתרגל נדיבות, מוזמנות לעשות זאת דרך הקישור שאני אשלח עוד מעט בצ'אט, וזהו, אז בואו נתחיל. Thank you very, very much, Anat, for coming and having us this discussion group with us, and looking forward to start.
Yeah, we'll see. Thank you, Tom. Okay, so let's just do some, settling down, being comfortable, settling down, but being awake. This is always the things it's good to remember when we talk about meditation. Sometimes, good not to not use the word meditation, because otherwise you get all stiff. Just to think, just to be, just to settle down, just not even to become a better person, not even to be in a better mind state, whatever, but just to know. The whole thing, meditation is about allowing the mind to become clear and stable, and then to know and what to know what brings happiness and to know what brings suffering. Because intellectually we run usually after the wrong things. So, but then when the mind is calm and when it is closer to our nature of love, compassion, and wisdom, then we start to understand things in a different way. So that's why it's the whole thing about being relaxed, being awake, settled, and just being aware, just to know. So the first thing we know is the body. So in order to know your body, you need to connect with your body, to feel your body, to experience your body. So for example, the body posture, body is sitting. And, with another kind of part of the mind, try to experience how it feels to know directly, unmistakenly, that the body is sitting. It might sound a bit stupid, of course I know I'm sitting. But no, we don't. We're not aware of it most of the time. Whenever the mind goes into judging, into opinions, into commentaries, just don't pay that much attention. Try not to follow it. Don't push it away, though. It's normal for the mind to have an opinion and to give a comment on everything. I don't like, usually this. So here again, you don't need to like and you don't need to dislike. You don't need to do anything. Just to be awake, just to be aware. And that's very relaxing, actually. Not to worry about the future, not to hang around in the past, nothing to achieve, nothing to attain. Just to allow our natural awareness to be aware. So then when the mind has become settled, it's good to think about, our motivation, why we are following this class. Like most of you are followers of the Buddha's teachings. For those who are not, it's fine. It's not just for Buddhists. It's like this whole chapter on patience is really practical, has to do with our daily life. And this is where it has to be applied anyway. But then as followers of the Buddha, and then again, we think about our spiritual practice and we ask ourselves, why am I doing this? Why am I practicing? And we really think about long-term goals. So the first thing is to know the causes of suffering. And that's sometimes quite a bit painful when we have to admit that we have self-cherishing, we follow it. Out of that, we get attachment, aversion, jealousy, arrogance, miserliness, fear, depression, all these kind of things. So it's not such a nice picture, but we need to have the courage and the strength to look at it. Otherwise, it cannot heal. But then behind all this, and it's so important that you start to trust that behind all this dirt, there's a gold mine, which is our pure nature mind. So if we can trust this, if we can, when we do our spiritual practice, not so much concentrate on the negativities, but just to see the dirt as dirt that we have to get rid of in order to find the gold. The natural love, compassion, wisdom, goodness, spaciousness that we all have. Don't get stuck in the dirt, but be aware of the dirt because you understand that this is covering what we actually are. And for a Buddhist practitioner, it's okay to, from time to time, to be frustrated and to think, I'm sick and tired of being under the control of my negative emotions. They're not making me happy. They're not making anybody else happy. They're always lying. They're always exaggerating. And they're not me. And I don't need to do much about them. I just need to recognize them as not helpful. So I don't follow them. So this is the purpose of our practice, not to change the people out, around us, but to discover the nature of our mind. And then, of course, why we want to do this, but this is really the first step. We start to work with ourselves. So then why do we want to do this? Because as a Mahayana practitioner, you want to be able to lead all sentient beings to that state. It's called Bodhisattva. We talked about this last time. So try to make this not just, not just intellectual, not just words. I know it's a very high goal. It's a very high mind. By thinking, I want to lead all sentient beings without any discrimination, without any thought of this one comes first and this one, I'm not interested in. I want to have an open heart to all sentient beings. We do recognize we don't have it yet, but that's okay. As long as we know where we want to go. And we're not giving up until we're there. An open heart towards all sentient beings. If fear comes up or rejection comes up, that's fine. Then just watch it. It's a very big thought Don't underestimate it. Sometimes we take this a bit too lightly, this bodhicitta thing. It's a very noble thought. And we just experience it. We make the mind familiar with what we really want, if you want it. If you don't want that, it's totally legal. Watch your heart when you think like this. May I be able to purify my own mind so that I'm not under the control of my unhelpful emotions anymore, in order to lead all other sentient beings to that state. Just with a lot of honesty and with a lot of courage, look what your heart says when you think that as a motivation. And then you can maybe, think about this good heart of ours, our own innate goodness, like in the middle of your upper body, like a source of light. If you don't have enough confidence that it's always there, but it's just covered, what you can do if you're a Buddhist, you would visualize the Buddha in his, rainbow light body, transparent, made out of light, comes to your crown and sinks into that space in your heart, in your heart chakra. But it's really good to start to trust it ourselves, that it's always there. And we see it like a filter or like a light that can heal everything, which is compassion, love, and wisdom, without any discrimination, not conditioned. And then as you breathe in, and now again, you can think about somebody specific, or you just think in general, there is so much suffering. May I be able to heal that suffering through my love, through my compassion, through my wisdom. And if it feels right for you, if it doesn't feel right, then don't do it. But if it feels right to you, then just, without any fear, because every suffering can be transformed. Every suffering can be used for our spiritual paths, for understanding, for renunciation, for compassion. There's no suffering, we don't have compassion. So as you breathe in, you can think you're breathing in that suffering, be it specific or just in general, maybe in the form of black smoke, maybe just an idea. Bring it down to your heart where it gets filtered, it gets transformed into what we all want: purity, harmony, well-being, peace, freedom, space, quiet, happiness. And as you breathe out, you think you're breathing out all this good stuff. And you just share it with all the others, with your future self, and with all the beings that you will meet along the way of this life and all future lives. If you feel comfortable with this, then you do it. If not, then you just, you're aware of breathing in when you're breathing in, and you're aware of breathing out. When you're breathing out, you choose You are your own master. And when you breathe into suffering, it's not for you to keep it, it's for you to transform it. And as you're able to do that, you see that yourself cherishing, the concern just about ourselves is diminishing. And we start to see, I'm not the only one who is undergoing all of this kind of unliked or unwanted, difficult hardships, challenges, and so on. Everybody does. Everybody in samsara has to undergo physical pain, mental pain, not getting what we want, having what we don't want, losing things that we are attached to, getting sick from time to time, and finally dying and going to our next life, having to leave everything behind. I'm not the only one. So the purpose of my practice is to understand that, to see that, to know that this suffering is not normal. It's only normal if we create the causes. And because it has causes, we can stop the causes, and then the suffering will be finished. And one of the main causes is our self-cherishing mind. As you breathe in everything that is heavy, sticky, hot, dark. Diminishes the self-cherishing, it brings about a wonderful, spacious bodhicitta heart. And as you breathe out light that is fresh, healing, giving support, bringing relief, bringing understanding and knowledge. Okay, thank you. Sometimes it's easier not to follow thoughts when you just, when you think to stay with your breath, when you just do Tonglen. And again, don't look for results. Like sometimes people say, oh, I feel even worse than I did before. Yeah, I mean, this meditation is not to make you feel better, by the way. Very often you do feel better, so that's a side effect. Yeah, but sometimes no. Sometimes maybe there's this heaviness in the heart, but then again, this heaviness in the heart, don't run away from it, but use it as to understand samsara. We are in samsara and we are under the control of our negative emotion. And blimey, this is why I'm practicing, because I don't want to be under the control of my negative emotions anymore. So that the heavy heart can be very useful, because if everything is always going well, I mean, why would you practice? I mean, this is one of the hindrances for you practice, is when everything is going well, then you just want to enjoy and you don't want to do anything kind of useful anymore. You just want to have pleasure. I think it's one of the verses that will come very soon. Okay, for the meditation, like this, Tonglen thing, everything is clear, or do you have a question for that? It can be done in so many different ways. So be creative also, and try out what works best for you. And doesn't mean that it works for you, it works for others, but it is discussion group, so then it's always good to share. Yeah. I mean, I find it especially helpful to do Tonglen because, you see, I still have, like last time we discussed jealousy, and I honestly had the feeling I'm the only one who experiences jealousy here, because everybody was saying, I do this, and then I do this, and now I rejoice with others' happiness, and all that. Wow. So I really rejoice if you're able to do that. Sometimes I get emails from people who are watching on YouTube, and it's a bit of a shame, because then you cannot discuss. So maybe they are the ones who are having problems, because then they sometimes write me their problems. So maybe the ones who are on Zoom, you're all very realized and you don't have any problems, and you know the antidotes and you apply them immediately. And so everything goes well. I see that some of you are smiling, so I'm happy about this. Means that maybe we're not as realized as we are, isn't it? Because it is important. It is really important that we're honest, without shame, without embarrassment, without guilt, because we need to be able to see what's wrong with us. Not all the time. Again, the whole thing about this Buddhist spiritual practice is about to get to know your mind and to become your own therapist. So you know how you need to think so that you can continue with the practice, not so that you feel better. That's the big mistake. But so that you can that you have enough strength to continue with the practice of generosity, ethical conduct, enthusiasm, bodhicitta, and all these kind of things, renunciation, and all these kind of things. Yeah, that is important. So like that. So it's okay to say, well, this person makes me nervous. What can I do? I don't like to spend time with that person. And don't take this too seriously. Again, if you think you're the only one, there's also me. I also have people that make me nervous. Yeah, but I don't want it. I don't enjoy it. I see it. My name is Ariela. I am one of those that watch on YouTube, and I do have a few questions. Well, yeah, okay. If you are you now on Zoom? Because you had a chat, or did you send this? Not now. Okay. Well, you can send me an email, or we can telephone. That's fine. I don't mind calling people, and then we just chat about it privately. That's fine. I have enough time during the day to do that most of the time. Anyway, so maybe Tom, you can just put my email then in the chat, and then people can see it. Where were we? Yeah, with our, so if you think you're the only one, that people make you nervous sometimes, then you're not the only one. There's also me. So, but I don't like it because I see how it makes me uncomfortable, but I fall into the trap very, very often, you know, and then it's exactly these verses that we're looking at that are very helpful. And then I try to do Tonglen with these people. And when I breathe out light, is that what my jealous mind or my uncomfortable mind doesn't want to do? It doesn't want to see them happy. It wants to see them, you know, not big, miserable. I'm not such a monster also, but, you know, a little bit not very successful or somebody criticizing them. And do you know what I'm talking about? Or are you all have no idea what I'm talking about? Yeah, okay. So, and then when I breathe out light, and it needs a bit of effort, I have to say, I see them when they laugh, when they're happy. And this really makes me so much more spacious because all of a sudden the jealousy is gone, and then I can accept them the way they are. Yeah, it's all about this because it's a bit of an illusion to think about bodhicitta. We did this last time, yeah. Think about, oh, I have bodhicitta, and then exclude some people, and we don't even want to see them having worldly happiness. That doesn't fit together. Yeah, okay. So again, please try to remember this is discussion group. If you don't agree with me or if you want to say something, just open up your microphone and say, I felt I was dragged into being jealous. I knew this is happening and I could not stop. Yeah, of course, me also. So then this was the homework, wasn't it? So it was like sliding. Yeah, like, you know, driving on ice or on snow, which maybe you're not so used to. But in Switzerland, you really have to let go. You have to let go of wanting to have control because otherwise you know, that's it. And don't break. So, but that's different. So the homework was to see your jealousy and to try to apply antidotes. Do you remember last week we said? Yeah, and some people who participated, I think she's not here, you know, said rejoicing and what the good things you have and all this. So you need to try this out because this is the first thing we think it works. For me, it doesn't really work, to be honest. It makes me even worse because then I think, you know, I'm not grateful because I see all the good things that I have. Why can't I rejoice and all this? So, because why? Because it kind of, to me, it sounds like my mother. You know, when I was complaining or I didn't like something, she would say, oh, but look at the good things you have. Why aren't you grateful? And I don't want to be my mother in a way. You know, because I didn't have a good relationship with my mother. So then this is why whatever she said, I cannot apply it now. Maybe I could, but anyway, so yeah. So did anybody try to apply antidotes for jealousy that we can share? Because jealousy is such a loser emotion. It doesn't take away anything from the other person, not one thing. And if they dislike you, they're even happy when you're jealous, you know. The best way to make your enemies happy is when you're jealous of them. So it doesn't take anything away from them, and you can't enjoy your own things. So you're the double loser in a way, you know. At least anger makes, you know, because people are afraid of you or because people are fed up with you, it makes them go away. They don't want to see you anymore. Attachment, the mind becomes very clear and very clever to get what you want. If you're attached to a person, maybe not my age anymore, but when you're younger and you're attached to a man that is, you're not in relationship yet, your attached mind, your desirous mind is so clever and it knows exactly what to say and what not to say in order to get the person. You know, if you don't have the person yet, you would never get angry at such a person because then you know, and no chance that this person will want to get into a relationship with me. We only do it, getting angry at these people, once we think we have them. Yeah. So at least, you know, desire and anger, at least they give us something. They move something. Jealousy is like, and yet I think we all have it. Yeah, we all suffer from it quite a lot, and it really poisons our mind. So, did anybody try to apply some antidotes?
I can share some. I can share something.
Okay.
For me, it's the most difficult thing, or it's the most difficult confession to admit my jealousy and my competitive. That's okay. So, and I feel very, very shame about this quality in myself. I must admit,
Uh-huh. We all
and
have it.
I can tell everybody that it's really cover up all my joys in my products,
Mm,
books I write, and everything, and plays in the theater.
mhm.
And because I remember myself 5 years old
Uh-huh.
being in Habima Theater watching Molière Misanthrope
Okay.
and being so jealous of Molière
Mm-hmm.
because I remember myself telling, wow, I never will be so good as Molière.
Mm-hmm.
It was really a mourning, a grieving.
Well, I think Molière was really understanding the negative side of humanity over human. And why is he able to do that? Because he can see his own mind. So, you know, this is it. So that's why we can relate to it so well, because you know, he speaks from his heart, I think, from experience and not just from observing. But yeah, wow, Michal, this is difficult to be jealous of Molière, who is dead. When did he live? You know, he's dead long time ago.
18th century.
How can you
I
surpass?
know it very well because I'm jealous of him many years.
Yeah. Well, you see, sometimes jealousy can also kind of, if it's not, you know, if it's not blocking us, jealousy can also then go into certain kind of competition, but only if the person is still alive. If the person is dead, what's the point surviving him? How to contact me privately? Okay, Tom, can you put my, or shall I do this email in? Then we can make maybe a phone arrangement.
I did as much as I can see. I did share. Oh, I shared it only with someone. I'll type it for everyone.
Okay. Otherwise, you can also write an email to Tom, and then he can send it to me or whatever. Yeah, but it's okay. We suffer from it. So, you know, instead of being ashamed and angry at yourself and all this, then at least to have some compassion and to see that we're not the only one. So that's very important. And actually being able to talk about it and you're very brave, Michal, because, you know, we are very, very quick at kind of admitting that we get angry and we have desire and all this. But arrogance and jealousy is very, very difficult to admit, especially if you're successful, you know, because people go, wow, you good, look at all. Then people come with this thing that I really don't, but look at all the good things you have. It doesn't help. You know, it doesn't really help. So, but to see it and to share it, you see, when we can share our shortcomings, there is three things that happen, because when we hide these things, we separate ourselves from others and we are afraid. There's always fear that somebody will find out. And we don't give ourselves the permission to be happy anymore because we think we're bad people. But especially that separation from others. Yeah, whereas if we can admit and say, well, yeah, look, this is what I have. I don't enjoy it, but I have it. And I'm working on it as much as I can. Sometimes, you know, very hard. Sometimes I just let it, as Sigal was saying, sometimes also I just let it slide. It takes away you take away a lot of power from these unhelpful emotions if we are able to talk about this, and especially to see that I'm not the only one. Yeah, and it comes from our, from it does. We can say we can blame our parents, we can blame our culture, we can blame our society that you have to succeed in order to be somebody, and you have to be intelligent. I mean, this whole thing in the world about in the Western world, this kind of this admiration for intelligence. I think it's sick. I'm sorry, because intelligence is, yeah, well, you are or you're not, so what? But it doesn't mean you're a good person. But how many, how many people are admired for their good heart? How many kind of promotion is for a good heart? Slowly, maybe in our circles, when you kind of go around in Buddhist circles and all this, and now also MBSR and all these kind of things, even neuroscience at the moment, they started to talk about like emotional intelligence, that it's more intelligent to be compassionate than to be self-cherishing and all this. Slowly it's coming, but it's like intelligence is like, wow, look at your prime minister. He's very intelligent, that one, isn't he? He's brilliant. He has a brilliant mind. Yeah. Anyway, so let's go to the verses. Because we continue with the jealousy. I don't want to accuse anybody, by the way, because I'm sure he also has good sides. Okay, so we were at verse 84 here. This was about, it's another chat. I don't watch. Okay, it's just my email. That's good. Okay. So, that was, the argument was very good. That is about jealousy also. And this is about jealousy because don't forget, if you look at this text, it has been written in the 8th century. It could have been written today. So that means, samsaric beings, we haven't changed a bit. So this is why when somebody gave me this book, I think it was just the beginning of my Buddhist career. I didn't understand much about Buddhism. So somebody that I traveled with in India gave me the book, and I thought, like, how are you going to read a book that has been written in the 8th century now? But then one point I didn't have anything to read, and I started reading it, and then I thought, like, gosh, I mean, this is exactly how we are. This could have been written today, so it's like it's still very modern. So, but he was a monk, so he was in a monastery, and the monks have sponsors or supporters, bring them food, or you pay for their robes, or this and that. And sometimes it's possible that one of your sponsors, one of your donors, they are called, somebody else can get jealous. Yeah. So then he's saying, well, what does it matter if my enemy, the one I don't like? It's always about people we dislike, because if we like people, then it's very nice when they are getting presents and we rejoice. But jealousy is about when we dislike somebody. Or as Netta was saying the other day, also maybe, I'm jealous that somebody goes to India, but still I rejoice that they can go. So that's not the jealousy I'm talking about. I'm talking about the jealousy that is eating us up. So what does it matter if my enemy is given something or not? Whether he obtains it or whether it remains in the benefactor's here, in the benefactor's house, in either case, I shall get nothing, But we can't bear that this person that I dislike is getting it. Okay, so then it continues with verse 85. So that's a very good argument when you are getting jealous. Kind of, what does it help? What does it take away from the other person? And what does it give me? And then, as I think Sigal was saying in one of the chats just before, let's see, which was it's very well observed. Where are my chats here? All I could do is experience the pain of being jealous and say, so this is how it feels when I'm jealous. Yes, exactly. And if you keep your awareness on it, by the way, that's a very good antidote, which we we always underestimate a little bit. If you keep your awareness on the experience of being jealous, because you're not feeding it, because you have taken away your mind or your attention from the object, from the person, or from whatever you want. So you're not giving it more food with thoughts. Yeah. And you have already made the step out of it because you're in your awareness. Slowly, slowly, it will pass away. But it's good to see the pain, because then we start to understand, that it's just creating a lot of pain. And then the knowledge from direct experience comes in, and then it can transform slowly, slowly. It's still a very big habit.
Anila, I want to add to it.
Yeah, where are you? Okay, then I look at you again. Yeah, Netta.
That I found out that in these moments of jealousy, I know that I'm not okay. So I ask myself, how are you? What's going on?
Yeah.
Something even with concern.
Yeah.
Something with me is not okay. So I ask myself how I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps.
And then?
It helps.
It helped.
Yeah, I find what is wrong. If I lost confidence, if I am insecure in a way, if I find the source in myself.
You say that you're taking care of yourself.
Yes, yes.
In this moment.
Yeah, you're in your compassion instead of being in your, you shouldn't be jealous, kind of.
Yeah, I know that I'm not okay. If I'm jealous, something for me is missing here.
Exactly.
So very nice.
Yeah. Jealousy is always a lack of something that we might never be able to have, by the way. So there's this, like wishing something that we can't have. Sometimes our unconscious motivations or goals are totally unrealistic. Like, for example, if you don't have the ideal body and you keep looking at these other women who have these ideal bodies and you start getting jealous and you'll never get it, what's the point? Yeah. But we follow these minds, as if it's as if we're hitting ourselves all the time. But it's, as I said, it's also habit. So the next verse, thank you, Netta, by the way, that's nice, because that is a very good antidote. Showing concern, showing compassion, trying to do something about this, like a good mother. And we all know the power of listening. So if we can also, if nobody else wants to listen to us, we can listen to ourselves. So that's okay. Okay, so why? By becoming angry. So jealous, angry, same thing, because jealousy and anger goes together. Do I throw away my merits, the faith others have in me and my good qualities? Tell me, why am I not angry with myself for not having the causes for gain? So by being jealous or getting angry when somebody gets something, now this is psychology, okay? So your subtle mind or your subconsciousness taxes what the other person has as not good to have. So you block your possibility of becoming Molière. Whereas when we rejoice, we are seeing it as a good thing, and then we can get the same thing. So with Molière, you could think, well, how wonderful that he was such a great, not poet, how do you say in English anyway?
Dramaturg.
Huh? Yeah, dramaturg, that he wrote such wonderful plays. So we can all, even now, so many years after he died, we can enjoy it. May he be happy, may he be well, wherever he is in his next rebirth.
I do believe that being jealous is belittling yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Because one thing is already a sense of lacking something. And on top of it, we close the door of getting what we want. Because whatever we get is not good enough. Yeah. And
I have a question about that.
I just do one more sentence. And we close the door for us to get it in the future because we create negative karma. Jealousy is one of the negative, of the kleshas. We do actions out of jealousy. Usually it's actions of speech. It creates unhappiness for us in the future. and already in the present, by the way. But sometimes we enjoy it. You know, sometimes there's this perverse enjoyment. And this is what we need to see. This perverse enjoyment saying something nasty to that person. When we do the, Daniela, I just in a minute, okay? When we do the Tara practice, one of the 8 fears is jealousy, and it's compared to a poisonous snake who lurks in his dark hole of lack, you know, and waiting to kind of shoot out and spread its poison on people who are happy. It's such a good picture. And this, you know, in English, we have this expression, wet blanket. Yeah, people are very happy. There's a group of people very, very happy and having a good time. And you can't bear that they're having a good time. So you come with, you know, then you come with Buddhist wisdom. Oh, don't get attached to it. You know, don't get attached to the good things when you see that people are enjoying. Or we go, oh, it's all impermanent. Or, oh, it's empty anyway. So, you know, why are you so childish? It's just 8 worldly dharmas. But we, you know, it's true. It is Buddhist wisdom, but we spread it because we want to destroy the joy of the others. Like the snake who is shooting its poison, who can't bear when somebody else is happy. This is jealousy. Yes, Daniela.
Yeah, I was just connecting to that point. When I was thinking about jealousy, for me, it ends up being not that I'm wishing something bad on the other person, but it comes back to hating myself, to this kind of need for self-compassion. So if I'm jealous, it means, I think, like you said, I don't have something. So why don't I have it? Why am I not good enough? Why couldn't I get that? Or, you know, along those lines. So I was going to ask, what kind of antidotes, you know, how do you get out of that mindset?
By praising somebody else, by learning to praise, by learning to praise others in a very realistic way, because praising somebody in a realistic way, when it's not too difficult, makes you happy. So don't go to your most difficult kind of object, you know, the person that you're jealous of. Don't start praising them. This is not going to work for your jealousy, because it just, your ego will rebel. But start to see the good things in others that you like and start to mention it, for example, you know. This is a good thing. And don't hate yourself. There's no point. Just also, you know, when you feel jealous, this one sentence, I'm not the only one. So many people suffer from it. And then, you know, when you see other people being jealous of you, instead of enjoying it, because that's what we do, isn't it? We kind of complain even. We say, oh, they're jealous of me. But somehow we enjoy it because it's true. When somebody is jealous of you, they see your good qualities. So don't be angry at them, and try to feel some compassion. And then, you know, we give them the victory. We say, you know, something like that. But this also is so difficult. It's one of the verses in Losang. Noah is not here today. Noah is the Losang expert in the 8 verses. So I think it's verse number 5 that says, if somebody accuses me of something that I haven't done, out of jealousy, I will give him the victory. You know, I will say, okay, I've done this. Wow, this for our ego, I tell you, this is like atom bomb almost. Yeah. But if you're able to do this, wow, your jealousy is finished, you know, because you understand that the person is lacking something from knowing your own jealousy. And so you're not, you know, it's not this act of, wow, look at me, I'm so great and I'm so noble. No, it's just like you do it as a training, because this is very difficult to do. To admit the mistake that you haven't made in order to better the situation. Are we able to do this? This is a provoking question here. Are we able to do this? If yes, when? In a very natural way.
I think sometimes with our children, maybe.
Not just maybe, Tommy for sure. I have a friend whose husband was very violent, not with beating, but with words. I mean, he was angry all the time and he kept shouting. So when the kids did something like that, she knew that he would get upset. She would take the blame, so that he would get upset on her, because she knew she could take it better than the children. Yeah. So we can do this. See, when there's a lot of love, we can do this. So this is why we're practicing. We're practicing in order to see everybody as our children, that we feel responsible for their happiness and that we protect them. Well, at least, I mean, that's the motivation. We're not able to do this yet, but this is the direction where we want to go. Yeah. So antidotes for jealousy, I mean, is like, sometimes it's also good to talk to that person that you're jealous, and to, as I'm saying, it's not too difficult to actually point out to them they're good, what you're jealous about. Not by saying that, hey, I'm jealous of you, but by saying, wow, this you did really well. It's quite painful at the beginning, but your jealousy slowly will go. But it has to be realistic, okay? Elisheva?
I like to tell myself, accept what you don't have, but not in a negative attitude, but as a positive attitude. Yeah. I feel satisfaction when I'm saying it to myself, accept what you don't have.
Exactly. But because by accepting what we don't have, then we can start to rejoice in what we have. If we just always looking what we don't have and what we want to get, and because we think we have such a big misunderstanding that we think that this beautiful woman with the perfect body, or this beautiful guy with all the muscles that usually men would want sometimes, or the intelligence, or the fame, or the money, or the house, or the partner. We think that these people are happy because of having this, because we think I am unhappy of not having it. But it's not true. Just go and live with them, and then you see that they have other problems. You see, when I was younger, I never kind of paid much attention to how I looked. I never got made up, actually. I never wore makeup. But all my other friends, women friends that I went out with to nightclubs and stuff, they were all, beautiful, made up and all this. And one of my friends once, she said, "Oh, Lau, you got some nice long eyelashes. Let me do it for you." Well, it took about 10 minutes and I was all black around my eyes because I was rubbing, because I was not used to wear these things. So, I never really cared about how I looked. So now being old is absolutely not a problem. But I see my beautiful friends, even one of them is undergoing these beauty operations because she can't bear. And I think you already know, I told this the example so many times already. When I was younger, I was working in a sports shop in a ski resort in Switzerland, and we had as customer Greta Garbo. Do you still know her? She used to be called the Divine. So now she was 70 maybe. She had no money. So she only came when we had sales. She was very shy. She was depressed. Only one person was allowed to speak to her. Otherwise, she would run away. So much suffering because she had, in her eyes, she had lost her beauty. To me, she still looked very beautiful. She was very tall and, very broad shoulders and very slim. And she tried to hide. She tried to hide her identity. And she was always wearing these big hats and these very dark glasses. And everybody knew from far away, oh, there comes Greta Garbo. I mean, so sad. Because if you put your happiness on these things, as you get older, it will fade. Your intelligence will fade. Maybe your money will fade. Definitely your beauty will fade. So these are very unreliable things to put your happiness on. Yeah. Okay, so Shanti Deva is saying, does that help a little bit, Daniela? The one thing is, please don't hate yourself. This is such an unhelpful attitude. Yeah. Or if you hate yourself, when we hate ourselves, we kind of talk to ourselves, isn't it? Gosh, you're so stupid. Why are you doing this again and this and that? You don't do that. Try to see again. Try to be aware of this. And then you have two me's. You have two I's. One intelligent one who is talking to the stupid one. Yeah? Do you never do this? Yeah, most of us. So then, it's interesting to see that I'm always identifying with the more intelligent one who is telling the other stupid one what it shouldn't do. And when I start to notice this, then I also start to laugh. Yeah. If we can have a bit of humor about our shortcomings, I mean, this is so helpful. And to know that it's not our nature. We don't have to identify with these things. And then, and then to have texts like this one, a text that inspires you, a text that you can look at, because we keep forgetting. I keep forgetting. And then I go like, yeah, of course, this is what I wanted to do. This is the direction I want to go. Yeah. Okay. So here he says to himself. Now here he has these two egos, these two eyes. Yeah. Shantideva in the verses, sometimes he talks to himself. So he says, so why, you stupid ego, by becoming angry, you throw away all your merits, like all the positive karma that we have done, because as it says, you remember, it says at the beginning, anger is the most destructive emotion that kind of destroys all our positive karma. It destroys it in a way, because when we're angry, we cannot enjoy anything. So the good karma cannot ripen, because when we're angry, nothing appears beautiful. Everything appears very ugly. Then he is a monk. Yeah, so he's a monk. And so he said, the faith others have in me and my good qualities. So if you are a religious person and you're walking around being jealous and angry all the time, and you're not doing anything against it, I mean, people will stop having faith in you. And I think this is, not just monk or nun, but if you are calling yourself a spiritual practitioner, I mean, you do have a responsibility to work with your mind, because other people will get even double upset if you behave in a non-ethical way. And we see it, we had this whole thing in with the people like the church, with the priests who were abusing the children that they were responsible for, either by beating them or sexual harassment or even, sexual abuse and all this. So if this would be a normal person, like not a priest, not a religious person, not a spiritual person, still it's very upsetting, but it's less upsetting than it's when it's somebody who is supposed to protect these kids. Yeah. Have you ever noticed that maybe you also do that we even say it, oh, but he's a Buddhist, isn't it? Have you ever had that thought when you look at some other Buddhist who is behaving in a very self-cherishing way? Of course. Yeah. So we do have a responsibility. So Shantideva is telling his angry mind what happens. People will lose faith in you. You lose your good qualities. And so then he's telling me, if you want to get angry, why don't you get angry at yourself? So again, of course, as Daniela was just saying, of course we shouldn't go, walk around getting angry at ourselves. But if you want to get angry, then be angry at yourself and not at others. But maybe for our Western, not so kind of self-confident mind, this is not a good advice, okay? Because you see, as a Buddhist, these people are born as Buddhists, so they grow up with the view that at the bottom you are okay. Your nature is pure, your nature is okay. That's what they grow up with. So they have this confidence. Whereas we Westerners, we grow up with the thought that something is wrong with us. That our nature is not pure. So this is why this is my maybe getting angry at you. I can get angry at myself. This is fine, because that anger doesn't last long, and it gives me the energy to change something. So if that kind of anger you find helpful, that's okay. But if it's denigrating yourself, judging yourself, putting yourself down all the time. When somebody says, wow, this you did really well, and you can't accept it, that's not helpful. Do you see the difference? Not every anger, not every anger is unhelpful, and not every too much how to say, not every too much being content with how you are is
too
helpful.
much generosity.
Not too much generosity towards yourself is also not helpful.
Right.
So the whole thing about Buddhism is about the middle way. So you have to find your own middle way, as I'm saying, by studying these things, and then by meditating on them, by becoming familiar with them, you start to become your own therapist, knowing what to apply when, either to apply some kind of anger energy to get you going, or being very compassionate and to let it be, as Elisheva says, to just accept what we don't have. Yeah. What was it? Too much wanting to better yourself all the time is not good, but also too much contentment about yourself is like committing suicide. I can't remember who said that. I think it was His Holiness who said that at one point. So there also we have to find a middle way, and we have to find what to apply when. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that we should make ourselves feel bad about what we do. We can easily admit that the way our thinking revolves around the same patterns creates problems for us. And there we have a choice to start to give ourselves the choice. I don't have to react like this. I don't have to be jealous. And this is another, sometimes this sentence comes almost like out of the blue. At one point, I was very grumpy, like this. And all of a sudden I had this thought, I don't have to be grumpy. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but very often it works. And to give yourself a conscious choice. We don't. We usually, as Sigal was saying, we slide with the negative emotion, we let it go. But if we consciously give ourselves a choice, because we have a choice, not so much, okay? We don't have, oh, Leora, do we have free will? We don't have free will. We only have the free will that we give ourselves, and the choices are limited according to our karma. So it's like a very big discussion. So if somebody gets the recognition that we think is unjustified or like some praise, we can either freak out or just let it be. This is the choice we have, as Elisheva was saying. We can either just let it be, and not being happy about it yet, or we can freak out. This choice we have.
Anila, this antidote that you said before, it's really amazing.
Which
the
one?
thing that not freak out and not that, to join the praising. Yeah. Maybe you were sliding, and then you get up on your feet and join, and you're in different place, different area. Mm-hmm. You're not this poor me and separated from this person that is high there, but you're just becoming something not so separate, and you're joining something. I don't know why, it's really strong.
Yeah, it works really well. And also to go and talk to the person, to make contact with the person, because then sometimes you also see, this person also has problems, and those, not to make contact because of that, but this is why I'm saying not to separate from the person, because if you look from the distance, your jealousy is really growing. If you go closer, then the connection comes also.
And the delusion lessen.
Yeah, we're not alone. Our heart opens. We feel connected. Every time we feel connected to somebody, we're okay. Yeah, because yes.
I just want to add to what Neta said, because I remember an experience like this. And it just happened like they didn't make any effort. I didn't put any effort that it will happen. That I was just with a person that was praised, or he had something that I really wanted, and I was him. Like I was in this case. In that case, it was her. So we're completely one. So I could really be happy because we are the same. I was in her place. There wasn't any separation.
Right.
It was not me and her. She got it and I didn't. No, I was in her place. Like so, it works very nice if it works, if it happens.
Yes, these again, it's not like guaranteed working or whatever. You don't have a guarantee, but very often you have to experience it. This is it, then you find your own antidotes. Okay, let's do one more verse. So again, it's just telling himself how stupid he is, by the way, by being jealous. Then let alone not having any remorse about the evils that you committed, O mind. Why do you wish to compete with others who have committed meritorious deeds? Quasi. So again, this is about monastery. This is about spiritual practice. So he's probably getting jealous of people who, who have great scholars, or, have done long retreats, have a lot of students, or whatever. So he's telling himself that your own negative karma you don't regret, because why are we not getting what they got? Because we don't have the karma to get it. We forget. Yeah, these people, it didn't just fall on them out of the blue. They have created the karma to get these good things. And so, and he says, not only you are not regretting your negative acts you did in the past, but you're trying to compete or to battle with people who are doing like meritorious acts. Okay, so if we mindlessly complain about others, how did he get this job, raise a salary, win the lottery, and so on? Then we forget that it is because of their previous meritorious actions. Now they are reaping these benefits. Our resentment and backbiting, however, will not bring us positive results. Yeah, it will just, it destroys our happiness now, and it creates negative karma for the future. So it's good to think about this. And yesterday we talked about, because we're having the same text and we're almost in the same place. I talked about, when somebody is really unpleasant, when we don't have any interest in being kind to them, we're not even making an effort by trying to make them feel better. If somebody is unpleasant, why? Because they're unhappy. But if we don't have any professional kind of interest, then we treat them in a quite nasty way. Also, either not so nasty, but we ignore them, or we even tell them like, oh, look what you're doing, like that. We make them feel uncomfortable. They make us feel uncomfortable. Then we want them to feel uncomfortable. So we have somebody who is a nurse, and in the group, and we have somebody who's working in a shop selling clothes. And I know how it is, we have worked in the sports shop. Sometimes you have customers, they're just demanding, they're grumpy, everything is too expensive, and you can see they're very rich, but you have to be kind to them. We have to be polite. Why? You know this very well. You have no choice. What happens if you're not polite to these people? Yeah, you need to open up your microphone, Leora, but I think you understood. You lose your job. Exactly. So then the person who's working in the sports in the clothes shop, she said, yeah, that's true, because they get on my nerves, but then when they're gone, I forget. This is it, I can let go because I know I have no choice. So when we are unkind to others, we lose our chance of a good rebirth in the future. And this we don't take into consideration. Yeah. So when we see that we are capable of, okay, this person is uncomfortable, I don't like them, that's fine, but I don't need to take them home with me when they're already gone. Yeah. I can just let it be, because I know if I react in a negative way now, I lose my job. So we can do that, and then we're not suffering from it. We're not feeling like friars. Okay. At least not in Switzerland. I don't know how it is in Israel in the shops. So we should also be able to do this long term. Do you understand what I'm getting at?
May I ask a question?
We understand we can do it. So why not start to train to do it with everybody? Because one thing, being unkind and nasty to somebody is not going to make them kinder people. You know, punishing them, because for us, when we are unkind, we look at it as if it's a punishment. You're not kind, therefore I'm not nice to you, isn't it? I mean, that, and we think we're totally justified. But again, you know, it doesn't mean that you let people walk over you. It has to do with our emotions towards the people. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about what they do to you. If they're harmful and you can go to the police or whatever, by all means do that. I'm talking about daily life here. The neighbor, the person in front of the line, the person who took your parking spot. I'm talking about these things, not about big things. Okay, so Michal, go ahead.
I just have a question. If I understand you well, you mean that I have to care about people and to cause to them good because I want to get benefits for that in afterlife, like in Judaism.
Of course.
People say that you have to make mitzvahs.
Yeah.
If you want to be in heaven.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't want to accept myself as a liar or to relate to myself as a liar.
I'm not saying you have to lie. I'm saying you have to be kind to them. Why is that lying?
Yeah, just for the kindness to them, just for them and for myself, my own happiness, and not to gain something out of it.
Perfect. No? You don't have to. You don't have to take this as a motivation. Just do it. If you don't need a motivation to be kind to every asshole that is walking in the street, sorry for the word, you know, if you don't need to see any benefit for you and you do it naturally, wonderful. I need a motivation. When my ego mind is putting the label asshole on somebody, I need a motivation to change that label asshole. And the motivation is, oh, if I react with anger now, you know, I'm creating the causes to be reborn in a lower state. Thank you very much. I don't want this. And by the way, you know, maybe the difference between Judaism and Buddhism is, in Buddhism, nobody is rewarding you. There is no creator God that is looking what you're doing and then saying, she deserves to be happy and this one deserves to suffer. It's your own mind who is doing it. And on top of it, Michal, I don't want to be an unkind person, not even to the asshole. So I need a motivation. And my motivation is also bodhicitta, you know, to train my mind to be kind to everybody. Right. And kindness doesn't mean lying, by the way. Kindness can be with a lot of concern for the other person. I am telling that other person, stop that. But with concern for the other person, like a mother.
Right.
If you don't want this, Michal, no. If you don't want this as a motivation, that's fine. Don't take it. You see, when you say, do you mean I have to? And this is why at the beginning of the class, most of the time I say it, you don't have to do anything. You choose what you want to do. The Buddha is not saying, do this and do that. It is no 10 commandments. There is explanation. If you do this, this happens. If you do that, this happens. But the Buddha will always love you, no problem. The Buddha will always try to help you out of suffering and the causes for suffering. You don't have to be a certain way to be rewarded. You see, karma is not a system of reward and punishment. Karma is a system of cause and effect. And in daily life, we use this. I don't want pain. Now, you are injured because you had your surgery. So you don't want this pain. So you're trying to avoid it by not creating more causes for the pain. This is natural. This is normal. Then getting the reward of not getting more pain, is that lying?
No, I don't want to be based on the reward. You understand? I don't want to be based on the karma.
Michal, I am cutting you. It is fine. If you don't want to, then what's the point? But that's how we think. You know, almost every decision we make is made on the basis, what is there for me?
Right.
Yeah. So why not use it in a skillful way long term? Because we both win. The person that I'm kind to, we win. I win because it's nicer to be kind than to be nasty. But yeah, it's okay. Michal, you don't have to agree with me. We don't have to go into an argument, okay? Because if you don't accept it, and it takes a while because it does sound like reward, I know. And we want to be so noble that we don't need a motivation that is based on me. But we don't have that motivation. You see, the goal is to let go of that motivation. That's the goal. That then bodhicitta comes spontaneously. But the way I started talking today, you can see I don't have spontaneous bodhicitta. I have to use reasoning why it is good to talk like this, why it is good. So this is the lowest, by the way, this is the lowest motivation for being ethical, so that I don't suffer in the future. I think it's a good motivation. You see, if everybody would have that motivation, that I don't want to harm and hurt others because I don't want to suffer in the future, we would have a wonderful world. Isn't it? But that's the lowest motivation, yeah? Then when we got this, when we are finally so concerned about our own well-being, when we got this and we do it naturally, then we expand the motivation. I don't want to harm others because I don't want the other to suffer. Because then we are ready for it. Yeah. When we first learn, I don't want to harm others because I don't want to suffer, then we are ready because I don't want the other one to suffer, no matter who this other person is. Then the highest form of ethical conduct is I don't want to harm others because I want to attain enlightenment, to then be of benefit to all other sentient beings. So you see, it depends what level we're talking about. And knowing about karma and abstaining from harming others because I don't want to be, because I don't want to suffer in the future, this is elementary school. But if you don't go to elementary school, you cannot go to university. Okay? But you see, everybody who is listening to me and is already so advanced that they are not caring for their own happiness anymore and only for the happiness of others, well, I rejoice. I'm very happy. Yeah. But I know for me, thinking about my own death, how do I want to die? With all these negative emotions taking with me to my next life? No, thank you very much. Yeah. But the goal, like the motivation, is to become a fully awakened being, to be of benefit to others. And you're not doing that to please the Buddha. You are doing that out of compassion for yourself. Darrell, did you want to say something? Because I see you open your microphone.
Yes. I have question.
Yes.
How do I get I have, for example, a lot of fears, and I always, like just you said, I always think maybe I harm somebody. I'm always afraid that I harm somebody.
Yeah. Well,
And some,
you know, actually, when we talk about negative karma, it's the 10 negative actions. So it's quite specific and it's quite simple. So we're not talking about using our speech, you know, it's speech in a way that then hurts or harms somebody else. So one talks about killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. That's the tree of the body. Okay. Then we talk about lying, like consciously telling something that is not true with the motivation to deceive the other person. So lying, dividing people with our speech, you know, slandering them, spreading rumors about them, then harmful words like hurting words. If I tell somebody who is such an idiot, you know, somebody who is low in self-confidence anyway, and keep criticizing them all the time and telling them how stupid they are and what an idiot and all this, and useless speech. So these are the four of the speech, the four negative actions of the speech. Then the three of the mind are envy, jealousy, harmful thoughts, or negative rejoicing. That this would be the next verse here, but we won't get to this today. Negative rejoicing, we're happy when somebody is suffering, and wrong views. So these are the 10 negative actions. So they are simple to understand. So this is how we start. You know, to look at especially actions for us at the body and at the speech. And I think I can say the people who are listening to me, you know, either with the Israeli group or other groups, I think we can really rejoice that we have already subdued our body, that we're not going around killing, you know, senselessly, not even insects. Sometimes we also have to kill insects, but we do it with a lot of regret. We don't do it like this happily. Yeah. And we definitely don't go around killing people. Now, army is another thing, but we're not doing it on purpose. Some people kill other people on purpose with a lot of joy. Yeah. Also, we're not going around stealing whatever can be stolen, and we're definitely not going around sexually abusing others, isn't it? So at least the body, I think we have subdued. Okay. And so it's not just the action, Darrell, it is also the motivation. You know, when there is anger, there is a wish to harm. So that's fine. And then how we can, you know, we are in samsara. So whether we want or not, you know, sometimes I say something, it makes somebody, they don't like it short term, but maybe long term, they start to understand what I wanted to say. Yeah, we don't know. So this is why first, because we don't know what we are doing to people. Sometimes we help, sometimes we want to help and we actually harm. So the point of a Buddhist spiritual practitioner is to take care of your own mind. Is that clear?
yes, but I want to ask, is there any way to get rid of the fears?
Of the fears?
Yes.
You know, the time is up. So anyway, the only way to get rid of all fears is to understand reality. That whatever we see, touch, taste, think, is a projection of our own mind. And it does not exist the way that it appears. That's the only way we can get rid of our fears. The only way we can get rid of our fears is by understanding this I, this me, this ego that I'm trying to protect so much. does not exist the way that it appears. There is an I, there is an ego, but not what we think is there. There is no I that is separate from the body and the mind. So that will take a long, 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 long time to get rid of the fear. Then what we can do in the meantime to see whether the fear is reasonable or not reasonable. There are some fears which are very helpful. The fear of not just running out into the street, but looking if a car is coming, because the fear of getting hit is very useful. You see, we need our fears so that we can protect ourselves. So don't just throw them out. Okay?
Okay. But I have, for example, some fears that are not reasonable.
Yeah, then what can we do when the things are not, when the fears are not reasonable? You have to exploit them. You just, you ask yourself, okay, what does it help to be afraid now? And then again, just a question. You don't have to find the answer, But fear is a very big thing. But fear is based on a misunderstanding of reality. Behind every negative emotion, by the way, fear is the engine, fear is the motor, fear is the one that thrives us.
Is there any mantra that cleans fear?
Oh, Darrell, if I could give you an answer now in 2 minutes, I would be world famous. Yeah. Is there an answer? Yeah. Love and compassion. May I be happy, may I be well. And we will finish the class like this. Okay, because the time is already up since 7 minutes again. So generating just this one sentence for yourself. We'll go through it now. And if you still have a question at the end, you can ask. Okay, it's a reflection that we can do that we call metta. Are you familiar with it at all?
I heard about metta.
Yeah, okay, so we'll try to do this now. Okay, as a finishing of this class. And then we continue, next time we continue with verse 87. So what homework do you want to do? You want to continue with jealousy a bit? Or what else could you do? Yeah, I think antidotes for jealousy might be a good thing. As we said, trying to, if the person is close to you that you're jealous about, because, if I'm jealous about somebody that I don't even know, that's not really jealousy. Here's the, being jealous of people that you have contact with. So then connect to them, go and talk to them, be friendly to them. Yeah, try that. Don't overdo it, but try it. Because again, practice is practicing, doing things that we cannot do yet. This is what training is all about. Training things that we can't do yet. So if you can already do this and you don't have jealousy, then that's perfectly okay. And Darrell, I wish I could give you a short answer to your question, because most of aggression also comes out of fear and hurt. If there would be an easy way to get rid of fear, we would have so much less suffering and so much less aggression and anger in the world, because anger is covering up the fear. Then we feel a bit more courageous because we don't want to be afraid. But again, try to think some fears are useful. So don't think that it's totally useless. Yeah. Okay, so we do some metta and then we'll see. And then maybe next week we can talk more about this, or, all the...
Sorry, one more question.
Huh?
Sorry, one more question. When we have again?
Yeah, of course. You can come anytime again if you want.
No, when will we have?
Every Wednesday. But also on the... Are you in Israel? Are you in Israel, Darrell?
I am in Croatia.
You're in Croatia. Okay. So they have a lot of... Your English is very good. So they, the Dharma Friends. How did you find out the link?
I just found out the YouTube
yeah.
video.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, here is every Wednesday. If you put, Tom, can you put the DFI webpage kind of thing into the chat? So they have a webpage, the group that we're talking about here, they're Israelis, in case you haven't noticed. So that's their website, and they have lots of teachings, you know. So, but I'm doing every Wednesday, same time. And the link you can find on their webpage. Okay, so
Alina,
let's
can
just.
I ask something, please?
Yeah.
Can I ask?
Maybe let's do the meditation first, and then the
Okay.
people who want to go, they can go, and people who want to listen, they can listen, and you can definitely ask a question, Elisheva. Okay, so let's just settle down, sit with the straight back, full of self-confidence. This is also good. If you can sit with the straight back, then that's fine. And to generate a really good feeling about ourselves, that what we did, that what we're doing here is quite difficult. Yeah, that it is absolutely not easy to do. And because we have to hear things that are not so pleasant to hear about our negative emotions and all this, but it will be very helpful. And to think that this is time well spent. And to have appreciation. An appreciation that we want to develop a good heart. I mean, how many people very consciously want to develop a good heart? Not that many. How many people put effort into developing a good heart? Not that many, but you are one of those. So that's wonderful. And yes, as Darel was saying, sometimes we do hurt others, but at least we don't rejoice. You know, we don't enjoy it. So that's fine. Then we generate the thought. May I be safe. Just allow that thought to do whatever it wants to do with your heart. Don't manipulate anything. May I be protected from physical and mental harm and from my unhelpful emotions. May I be protected from being guided by my unhelpful emotions, and therefore then to be protected from physical and mental harm. May I be strong, healthy, free from fear, loving and peaceful. Don't allow the mind now to say, oh, but I'm not. Just generate the thought. This works wonder, I tell you. May I be strong, healthy, free from fear, loving and peaceful. And may I be able to live my life with joy and ease. So this is not selfish when we have these thoughts for ourselves first, because if we don't have these thoughts for ourselves, these motivation for ourselves, we will not have it for all others. So then we can again visualize our own goodness at the center of your chest as a source of light. Your good heart, your good intentions, your love, your kindness, your skills, how to be of benefit to others. You wish to be of benefit to others. You let it expand in your body so that your body becomes a body of light, which encompasses all these qualities that if we could buy them, we would spend money for them, but we can't buy them. We have to develop them, or we have to uncover them. And then you let that light, kind of like these light rays, come out of your body in all directions, so that it can touch each and every sentient being. And you think, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be protected from physical and mental harm. May they all be freed from being under the control of their unhelpful emotions, especially wrong views and ignorance, not knowing what brings happiness, not knowing what brings suffering. May they all be strong, healthy, free from fear, loving and peaceful. And may they be able to live their life with joy and ease. Okay, so these are very, very simple thoughts. Use them as much as you can during the day. Whenever you feel like, frightened or depressed or whatever, may I be safe? May I be protected from physical and mental harm? Just repeat it until it brings some benefit. Okay, well, so those who want to go, thank you very much for listening to me. Elisheva, you can ask your question.
Thank you. I would like to ask, negative emotions are because we are ignorant. We don't know what reality is. So compassion is the way, it's a better way to stay until we will develop, or it's the reality itself?
Negative emotions are called negative emotions because they lead to suffering, something we don't want. I think we're all clear on this. We don't want to suffer. Yeah. So
because we are ignorant.
Well, we're ignorant of how things really exist. That's the ignorance. So it's not a, how to say, it's an active ignorance. Not only we don't know, but we think we know something that is wrong. That's the problem. And we cling to that so-called reality of inherent existence, dualistic existence, like things exist out there, separate from my own mind. We cling to it as if this is true. So it is called ignorance, but it's not really ignorance. It's more, I prefer, wrong views. We have a wrong view that I am the center of the universe, for example, and we cling to that and we act like this. Isn't it?
Yes, but
now why compassion? Compassion is the wish for somebody else to be free from suffering. This is true, like it's relatively true. You have relative truth and ultimate truth. But when compassion is in our heart, we wish for this other person to be from suffering because it's true that this other person doesn't want to suffer. So this is why, love, compassion, if it's not attached love and attached compassion, then what these emotions project is nearer to truth than anger. Anger wants to harm. Attachment wants to possess. And they're telling lies. When we see the object of our compassion, we see it in a clearer or in a truer way than when we look through the filter of anger or attachment.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and when we feel compassion for us or for the other person, this is noticeable. This is an experience. You can feel it in your heart. Your heart opens and widens. It hurts. That's true with compassion, but it's much bigger than when you're angry. When you're angry, your heart is very hard and very small. Yeah, so we can actually, these emotions, we can experience them in our body. So this is where you have to study them, not intellectually in the head. But as hormones and chemicals that the brain and the nervous system is kind of throwing out through the body, and then we can feel it in the body. Yeah. Is that answering your question, maybe?
Yes. So no, because I was thinking, so can we actually know what or see or feel or what reality is? Or
No, no.
we can just be in compassion and that's
The
it. It's a
only,
lot, but
okay, the only person who can see ultimate truth, which is emptiness, and relative truth, which is dependent arising, the only person who can see this at the same time is the Buddha, is a fully awakened being. So we can, once we are a Buddha. That's what we're working for.
so
but
it's more than compassion. Yes, it's more than compassion.
Well, seeing reality is not compassion. Seeing reality is wisdom.
Yeah, okay.
The wisdom of understanding that everything is empty of inherent existence. That is the reality. And when you are absorbed in that meditation on emptiness, nothing appears. Then you see emptiness. For that, you need a mind that can at least stay on its object like 4 hours without moving away in a very relaxed way. But it's not impossible, but that's what we're working for. And I think when you develop compassion by having the courage to see the suffering of others, you get closer to the truth that there is no separate I or me. You get closer to that truth. But what appears in front of us, it's totally depending on the way our mind is at the moment, what we have experienced before. It goes through so many layers before we perceive something. And this maybe Tom can tell you much better in, neuroscience. They talk about the way we perceive is like dependent on so many things, like how we feel at the moment, how the weather is. In the university in Fribourg, they made experiments with people. Like they asked them, do you want this or yes or no? And when you give them a glass of warm water to drink, they most likely say, yes, I want this, or yes, I accept this. If you give them cold water, they say no. So even that has an influence. By the way, water is very good for your brain. So when you feel tired, and you need to learn or something, then drink water. Drink a lot of water. This Israelis, I don't have to say, because you do drink a lot of water. So that's good. That's why you're so intelligent. There we go. There we go. Because you learned this from very small. Drink a lot of water because you're living in a hot country. Yeah. But even compassion alone doesn't see things as they are. But it understands suffering, which is it understands suffering has causes. Because it has causes, suffering can end. And the causes for suffering are our negative actions we've done in the past under the influence of negative emotions. So it's karma and klesha, karma and delusions. Okay?
Thank you.
Oh, I see. Ariela is the one with the palm trees here. I didn't notice you before. Nachum was very quiet today. How are you? Nachum, are you there? At least the label is there. Well, that's already a good thing. Okay, my dears, can we call it a day? Thank you very much for listening to me. Homework again is jealousy. Trying to apply antidotes, and then we share, because it's such a stupid emotion. It really is. And it really poisons our happiness. It blocks the door to our happiness and to get what we want. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and have a very good sleep and a very good night.
Thank you.
And bye, Dared. Thank you very much for joining us. It was nice to meet you.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Be well.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
ביי
ביי.
ביי. תודה רבה לכל מי שהשתתף, לכל מי ששיתפה. ושוב, נחמד מאוד לראות אותך, דראל.
תודה.
ואני מקווה
מתי יש עוד פעם משהו כזה, אם יש מחר?
בכל יום רביעי, באותה שעה, בשעה 8, באותו הקישור. אני שלחתי לך צ'אט את הקישור לאתר, איפה שיש את הקישור של
נשאלתי אם יש גם משהו מחר.
סליחה?
אם יש גם משהו מחר, או שבוע.
אני לא בטוח אם יש משהו מחר, אבל אתה יכול להיכנס לאתר של ידידי הדרמה, ושם יש המון מידע על כל הפעילויות שלהם. תסתובב שם באתר, אתה בטוח תמצא משהו בלי בעיה.